Hey guys, so this wave part 2 of our lab, we're going to investigate how waves behave with some of the other settings. So if you have not answered the practice applying your understanding for question 1, please do so now. Okay, we're going to investigate wave behavior. The first thing we're going to look at is the reflected pulse. Okay, so reflected pulse is the wave disturbance that comes back after hitting an end or whatever is reflected, okay? So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to add a fixed end to this, and we're going to select pulse. So I'm going to hit the pulse button. So here is the wave that comes down, and there is a reflected wave. So what happened to the wave with a fixed end? Okay, let's watch this again. So there's the wave that goes down, it hits the end, and what happens to the reflected pulse? Okay, so we're going to reset this, and we're going to add a loose end. So here is the pulse as it goes down, and there's the reflected pulse as it comes back. So that's different than the fixed end, right? Okay. Now let's say that the wave starts off below the equilibrium. What's going to happen when it hits the loose end? Okay, there it comes back. Okay. That's obviously different than the fixed end. So if we review the fixed end, this is what happens to a reflected wave. Okay, now let's add on a no end. There it goes. What happens to a pulse with no end? Okay, now we're going to answer the questions on how does dampening affect a wave. So first we have no dampening. As we look at the pulse, it goes down undisturbed in any way. Now let's increase the dampening up to medium. What happens to the wave? And let's increase dampening all the way. Let's watch that again. What happens to the wave when you increase dampening? So all in all, what does dampening do to a wave? Okay, so that answers our questions there. Now we're going to be making a graph using an oscillating wave with no dampening. And we want our amplitude at 1 centimeter, our frequency at 1 hertz. Okay, we are going to be increasing our time by 0.04 seconds. Okay, I know it's a very small number, but it does make a huge difference. And we are going to be starting our vertical position at 2 centimeters and our horizontal position at 0 centimeters. Okay, so make sure you add that into your data table right now. Okay, so I'm going to click play on the time, and I'm going to move this forward slowly with you guys, and I will tell you what it is being read as so that you can write it down. Okay, so going up to 0.04 seconds, we are now at a position of 2.3 centimeters for the vertical and 0 centimeters for the horizontal. Going up to 0.08 seconds, we are now at 2.5 centimeters for the vertical and 0 centimeters for the horizontal. We are just looking at this first green ball, by the way, okay? We don't care about any of the other ones, just this one. At 0.12 seconds, we are at 2.7 centimeters for the vertical position, 0 for the horizontal. don't know if you see the pattern yet. At 0.16 seconds, we are at roughly 2.8 centimeters for the vertical. We're still at 0 centimeters for the horizontal. At 0.20 seconds, we are at 2.9 centimeters for the vertical, 0 for horizontal. At 0.24 seconds, we are right at the 3 centimeter mark for vertical, 0 for horizontal. At 0.28 seconds, we are still at 3 centimeters for the vertical, 0 for horizontal. 0.32 seconds, we're now down to 2.9 centimeters for the vertical, 0 for horizontal. At 0.36 seconds, we are down to 2.8 centimeters for the vertical, 0 for horizontal. At 0.40 seconds, we are down to 2.6 centimeters for the vertical, 0 for horizontal. 0.44 seconds, we are at 2.4 centimeters for the vertical, 0 for horizontal. 0.48 seconds, we are 2.1 centimeters for the vertical, 0 for horizontal. 0.52 seconds, we are now at 1.9 centimeters for the vertical, 0 for horizontal. At 0.56 seconds, we are down to 1.6 centimeters for the vertical, 0 for horizontal. At 0.60 seconds, we are down to the 1.4 centimeters for the vertical, 0 for horizontal. At 0.64 seconds, we are down to 1.2 centimeters for the vertical, 0 for horizontal. 0.68 seconds, we are down to 1.1 centimeters for the vertical, 0 for horizontal. At 0.72 seconds, we are at 1 centimeter for the vertical, 0 for horizontal. 0.76 seconds, we are still at the 1 centimeter mark for the vertical, 0 for horizontal. Okay, so with all that data that you now have, we're going to be graphing it, and we are going to be graphing the vertical position versus time separate from the horizontal position versus time. Okay, time is always going to be on the x-axis, so that's the horizontal axis. Okay, don't get that confused. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do this on Google Sheets, which is part of the Google platform. If you want to do this on a separate sheet of paper and take a photo of it and send it in, that's fine as well. Okay, but this is a lot easier. So I've already filled out some of the data here. Now it's important to know you want your x-axis first and then your y-axis. Okay, so x-axis is going to be your time. Okay, and I'm only going up to 0.28 seconds. You can fill in the rest. And our vertical position is our y-axis. Okay, and I ended up with the 0.28 seconds for the time, so we're ending at 3 centimeters. I'm not adding any of the units on because units you can't graph. Okay, if you wanted to on time, you could in parentheses for seconds, and for position you could say, so that we know what we're dealing with here. Okay, so what you're going to do to create a chart is you're going to click on time, and you're going to click the shift button, and click the furthest most point to the right. Then while that's all highlighted, we're going to insert a chart, and it should automatically come up. Right, my face is in the way. We don't want a scatter chart. We want a line chart. Okay, so that's what we've got there. Okay, so this is our line chart. If we want to add that into our Google document, we're going to hit this 3-dot button here. Okay, and we're going to click Copy Chart. Click on our Google Doc and select Paste. And it says Link Spreadsheet. Yes, please. So we're going to paste. Then we're going to make it a little bit smaller so it fits on our Google page. Okay, so that's how you add that. And you can see that it's correctly titled and labeled as long as you do your Google Sheets correctly. Now, for the horizontal, you can do it on the same page, but create a different chart. So remember, x-axis first. So we're going to have time, then the y-axis, and I'm going to just copy the time, paste the time, and obviously the horizontal position is going to be 0. Okay. Now make sure you always are selecting your heading as well, and not just the data. And I'm going to insert chart. And there's my horizontal position versus time. And again, copy chart. Add it into my Google Doc. Paste. Make it slightly smaller. Okay. Now make sure you include all of your data. I know for the horizontal it's going to be a little redundant, but it's going to help us answer the questions that are asked of us. All right? Hopefully you guys are able to do this and follow along or do it on your own.